Welcome back, friends. You are listening to the Juicebox Podcast. If you are living with type 1 diabetes, Blue Circle Health can provide you with support, services, and resources you need to help manage this difficult disease. And this is at zero cost to you. You might be thinking, wow, Scott's putting the ads up closer to the front of the episode now, but that's not true. That's not an ad. That's about today's episode. Today, we're going to be speaking with Sarah from Blue Circle Health, and wait till she explains to you what the organization does and what it will cost you. Nothing you hear on the Juicebox Podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise. Always consult a physician before making any changes to your healthcare plan. When you place your first order for AG1 with my link, you'll get 5 free travel packs and a free year supply of vitamin D. drinkag1.com/juicebox. Don't forget to save 40% off of your entire order at CozyEarth.com. All you have to do is use the offer code JUICEBOX at checkout. That's JUICEBOX at checkout to save 40% at CozyEarth.com. Today's episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by the Eversense 365, the 1-year wear CGM. That's one insertion a year. That's it. And here's a little bonus for you. How about there's no limit on how many friends and family you can share your data with the Eversense Now app. No limits. Eversense. This episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by the Contour NextGen blood glucose meter. Learn more and get started today at contournext.com/juicebox. Did you know if just one person in your family has type 1 diabetes, you're up to 15 times more likely to get it too? So screen it like you mean it. One blood test can spot type 1 diabetes early. Tap now, talk to a doctor, or visit screenfortype1.com for more info.
Hi, my name is Sarah. I live in New York City, and I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes just over 2 years ago in June 2022.
How old are you now, Sarah?
27 years old.
Okay, so you're 25. How about in your family? Is there is this like a thought like, oh, I'm definitely going to get diabetes because everybody has it, or a thing you never heard of before, somewhere in between?
Yeah, not something I was super familiar with. I do have one cousin with type 1. Her dad has type 1 as well, who's not on my blood-related side, but it wasn't even something I was super cognizant of growing up. I had 1 or 2 friends who had type 1, but it really was not on my radar when I was diagnosed.
Wait, Sarah, you have a familial side that's not blood-related, like a stepfather's brother or something like that?
No, so the cousin is blood-related, but her dad has it, who's not blood-related.
Oh, I see. I don't know why that confused me. I apologize.
Yeah.
I was like, Sarah's related to people she's not related to. What a great story. And she has it, though, the cousin.
Yes, but we didn't grow up living in the same country even, so we weren't super close. So it wasn't something I thought about until actually a few months after I was diagnosed. One of my uncles said, hey, your cousin has this too. And I hadn't even remembered. So that shows you that she was living with it really well and that I wasn't even aware of all that was going on. But I think it's also one of those things that until it happens to you or you have a really close friend or family member with it, it's not necessarily on your radar unless you live with it.
Yeah. Can I ask, if you don't know, but does her mother have autoimmune issues?
I actually have no idea.
I'm interested because if the father has type 1 and the mom has autoimmune, then is that, you know what I mean? Like, is that the recipe that gets you there faster?
I will go find that answer out, but I know autoimmune stuff runs in my family. I mean, I sent the screening information to my siblings. I'm one of 4 kids. I believe 2 of the 4 of us did it. And I know 1 came back with, positive autoimmune. The other one did not. I don't know about the other brother.
Oh, wow. I'm glad you shared that with them. That's awesome. And so awesome that 2 of the 3 of them did it. By the way, most people don't. So
yeah.
Yeah, you got a good return there.
I did.
So there's autoimmune in your family. Your mom, your dad, grandmothers, grandfathers. What's going on?
I'm going to sound really ignorant here, but I don't know the whole history of our autoimmune and haven't really dug into it. I should go into it more now. There's some blood conditions that run in the family. I know there's some different autoimmune pieces that people have. I have a few different health things that have gone on my whole life, but this is the only one that really came up as an autoimmune, siblings with autoimmune, as I mentioned. But it wasn't something that we grew up thinking like, oh my God, we're this family with all of these autoimmune issues.
Right. What were your other health issues growing up?
I was diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome when I was in high school, connective tissue disorder. So that's something I was kind of always aware of, but, it didn't deeply affect me other than, when I played sports. Things were a little bit harder sometimes. My feet were really flat, led to some injuries that I now currently have a broken leg that probably has something to do with that condition as well. So it's just come up throughout my life, but hasn't been the story of it the way that type 1 came and became.
Yeah. No, I'm going to find out more about that. So you got an autoimmune issue when you were a kid. And that's for people who don't know, that's ligaments and stuff, extra stretchy, kind of that feeling, right?
Yeah. And there's different types of it. So mine is more hypermobility. So I wouldn't, there's genetic markers for it, but it wasn't really an autoimmune issue that I had.
It is though, by the way, it is an autoimmune disease.
Yeah. I just didn't have any other, I didn't have the heart condition that's related or anything. It was really
I
just
see.
Mobility. Yeah.
I see. Yours was stuck to the mobility.
There's different strains of it, different types. Yeah.
Oh, lucky you. Now,
yeah.
Okay. How does the type 1 rear its head? Like, what makes you realize that something's going on?
Yeah, well, I was getting sicker for about 4 months. I'm sure that I was aware of some of the signs and symptoms just from growing up. I was an EMT, volunteer EMT in college. So there are things that we learned about, DKA and looking out for. But when it's yourself, you're not necessarily realizing that. So I was getting sicker. I knew something wasn't right, seeing a bunch of doctors. Nobody took my blood, unfortunately, until I was, walking around New York City, feeling like I was going to pass out at any moment. I got a COVID booster shot, actually. And that was kind of what got me really, really sick. Some people threw up once or twice after that, but I was throwing up constantly and just wasn't getting better from it. I think a conversation with my mom where she said, Sarah, you really need to find someone to quarterback this. Like, I know something's not right. You're falling asleep during the day. Like, you're losing weight. Get to the doctor. I finally had a blood test drawn and I was hospitalized the very next day for several days. So a lot of signs that I think I wish I had recognized earlier. But once I did get into great care, it was much smoother sailing from there. But I will say, like many people who are diagnosed as adults, immediately in the ER, they said, given your age, this looks like type 2 diabetes. We're going to start you on metformin. We need to, give you insulin to bring your blood sugar down. And I was lucky in that my antibody test came back while I was still in the hospital. And so I didn't live with that misdiagnosis for very long, as many people do.
Right.
But I hope that, a takeaway that everyone who meets a type 1 who gets diagnosed as an adult is that like adults do get diagnosed with this and that stat is only rising.
Hey, how long till your mom was like, I told you something was wrong?
Well, when I got hospitalized, my mom, I grew up in Baltimore and my mom got on a train within minutes, I think, with no belongings and was in the hospital with me. So she has been, champion supporters, has my whole family since day one. And awesome. Everyone has really rallied around me, but she definitely knew, as moms tend to often know, that something was up and I needed somebody to really help quarterback that care.
What a lovely woman. She didn't roll right through the door going, I knew it. Like
yeah, she might have said it to other people, but I think it could have happened to me too, but I think I was too overwhelmed to realize it. Just nothing but support from there.
You don't remember, but on the train up, everyone she bumped into, she's like, I was telling that girl something was wrong. She don't listen to me. And
I think she was more bummed that she didn't know the diagnosis and was like, how did I miss this? And I'm like, Mom, you are not you're not a doctor. It's okay. But I think it was more on that of like, how did we not realize what this was?
That's very nice. Okay. So how do you leave the hospital? Meaning they know you have type 1 because luckily you got the auto antibody back, right? But is it like, here's some needles, like go to the pharmacy, especially in New York City, it's kind of a different vibe. So what do you physically leave the hospital with? Type 1 diabetes can happen at any age. Are you at risk? Screen it like you mean it. Because if just one person in your family has type 1, you're up to 15 times more likely to get it too. So screen it like you mean it. One blood test can help you spot it early. And the more you know, the more you can do. So don't wait. Talk to your doctor about screening. Tap now or visit screenfortype1.com to get more info. And screen it like you mean it.
Yeah, so I was actually discharged straight into outpatient care, which is very rare. So I got in with the endocrinologist in New York, and I literally went from inpatient hospital to, I believe we got in a taxi with a whole lot of different medical supplies and went to my outpatient endo, who I'm still with today. And so that was a very fortunate experience. And she sat with me for at least an hour and just answered questions nonstop. And so I did meet with, I think, an educator in the hospital. Got to be honest, I don't fully remember what happened in that hour-long or 30-minute session, or I'm pretty sure she taught me how to, take an injection. They slapped a CGM on me in the hospital as well, which was, helpful to have that from day one.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did go straight into my endocrinologist's office and got my T1D 101. And in another thing that was really rare, credit to the care that I've gotten at NYU, my doctor gave me the off hours number and said, call me every single night for the first 2 weeks. We're going to adjust your ratios together. This is going to be a team effort. And I want you to learn how to call this number. I want you to learn how to give yourself shots, but we're going to work on this together. And so that first 2 weeks, we really spoke, I think, every single day as I figured out how to get my blood sugar down from, the 500s. And I was diagnosed with an A1C over 13, and we got it down together.
How much weight did you lose before you knew you were type 1?
I don't actually know, a number there. I was going to the gym really regularly for the first time in a good while. So here I was thinking I was killing it at the gym. And then we, kind of realized that it wasn't a natural situation happening in a positive way. So I don't know, but I would guess like probably 10, 15 pounds.
You're not a big person, because I met you once in person, right? Like, am I remembering correctly? You're slight, right?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty average.
Yeah. Oh, look at you. I don't know if you took that wrong or not.
Yeah, no. I'm like, I now have a really good exercise regimen that, I've always been athletic. I've always played team sports growing up, and now have continued that on as an adult. But I do exercise fairly regularly, but, average height.
Okay. Yeah, no. I meant like there was 10 pounds on you might be a fair amount of weight.
Yeah, I think my face looked pretty pale when I look back and see some pictures from the days leading up to my diagnosis. And I would remember I was at a friend's birthday the day before I got diagnosed, and I was craving sugar like crazy at that time. So who knows what I did to my blood sugar that day, eating like cake and cupcakes and ice cream. And I've never had that big of a sweet tooth, but in those months leading up to my diagnosis, like my body was craving sugar so much that I was like, every time I worked out, I was getting a smoothie afterwards, because that's what I kept feeling faint, and then I would have it and I would feel better. I don't know what I did to my body in those months leading up to my diagnosis.
Something. Wow. Okay. So now today you have a job around diabetes. So I want to figure out, from being diagnosed 2 years ago, like you weren't in this kind of work then, right?
No, I was a social worker. So I did work in health and education, mostly with kids, and was working, in that realm. I did make a jump into the T1D space, and I credit that a lot to getting involved with the T1D community so early on. I'm a community person. I'm a relationships person. And so when I got this diagnosis, I think within 3 weeks, I had new friends with type 1 diabetes. I had gone to a meetup in Central Park 3 weeks into my diagnosis that I'd kind of coincidentally found out about. One of the girls who was at that meetup is one of my best friends today. And I've met so many other people from that community. And so I would say I had this mentality of I need to get my own care set. I'm going to lean into this community. I'm going to get involved. And then I think I probably knew while I was in the hospital that I would work in this space one day. I recognized the privilege that I was experiencing with my diagnosis, with the disease, with my access to technology and care, and never wanted to take that for granted, and knew I wanted to shift into the space professionally.
Well, so where do you work? Tell people where you work.
Yeah, so I work at Blue Circle Health. We're a nonprofit organization, and we have a T1D free care education and support program funded by the Helmsley Charitable Trust to improve the lives of people living with type 1 diabetes. We have this program. It's a virtual 6-month program for adults 18 and up. We're live in 5 states right now. So it's live in Delaware, Florida, Maine, Vermont, and Ohio, and we will be expanding to other states soon. And we exist to close the gap between what you get when you have this disease from the traditional healthcare system versus what you really need to thrive. When I say I recognize my privilege and came into this disease getting a lot of resources, like I did, I was able to get into a coaching program and get external education, diabetes education, and find community support, train my dog to be a diabetic alert dog. I have a therapist who I adore and has given me so much support through this diagnosis. So I received all this external support. I had a great healthcare team too, but I only get to see them twice a year. To be able to have all that external support is what allowed me to manage my diabetes with confidence and get to a place where I felt like I was thriving with my type 1. And so now with Blue Circle Health, we have this program where we're able to fill in the gap from what you get from the traditional healthcare system and give people that education and that support. So we have diabetes educators on our team. We have endocrinologists on our team. We have social workers, and we do, case management and diabetes supportive counseling. We have insurance navigators, which, personally, that's probably the area I need the most help with because it's the most complicated to navigate for me, at least, on a day-to-day basis. We have T1D support guides who all live with this disease and can help you navigate the program, offer peer support, run group sessions. And we also have some other specialized services available, like a prescription assistance program where we'll pay for people's prescriptions. We have a CGM trial program. So there's all these supports that kind of seem a little overwhelming to manage all that, but it's really like a la carte. Patients get individualized care plans. And so, you can use as much of those services as you need or as little as them as you need up to 6 months. So you may come in and say, I just want to meet with the insurance navigators and your educators 3 times. And great, that's it. You may be out of there in a month. A lot of people we find, stay for the full 6 months though.
Is it virtual?
It is virtual. So that's one of the eligibility requirements is being able to connect with us virtually.
Okay. So how does Blue Circle begin? How long has it been available? How did it start? I mean, I know you haven't been there that long, but what do you know about it?
Yeah, so I joined the team in March, and at that time was when we were first really coming out to the world and saying, hey, we exist. So before that, we were just in Florida. We, started because there was a group of people at the Helmsley Charitable Trust sitting around and saying, what can we do to fill this gap? We know the gap is there. What can we do to help people who live, in the US and are struggling to manage this disease? What can we do for them? And creating this virtual program with patient care as our North Star, as being able to work outside of the traditional healthcare system. We don't bill insurance because the insurance system is what makes it so complicated sometimes to get the care, that you really need and want, and what our providers want to give us. They often can't because of that reimbursement system. And so a group of really amazing people sat together and they dreamed this up, and it started with diabetes education. And then all the other service lines really built from there, from peer support. And our program was first full services operating July a year and a half ago. And then in around March this year, really January this year, but starting going out to the world in March, we opened it up so that patients could enroll themselves. They could go to our website, bluecirclehealth.org, and sign up directly. We still get provider referrals too, of course, but this is something that, should be available to everybody. And we want to show what T1D care can and should look like in this country. And we're out there trying to do that.
And for right now, you're in 5 states, is that right?
5 states right now, and then we'll keep steadily expanding throughout 2025. No more new states in 2024. We just went to Ohio and Delaware November 1st. So that was the last expansion of 2024, but then we'll keep expanding in 2025.
So basically, all these different ideas, like service points that you have, these people all also aren't at a location. They probably working from their homes or whatever. And then I meet you somehow and I'm like, I just got diabetes and I don't understand this stuff, but I don't know how to bolus for my food. And you can put me through courses to help me manage insulin. ContourNext.com/juicebox. That's the link you'll use to find out more about the Contour NextGen blood glucose meter. When you get there, there's a little bit at the top. You can click right on blood glucose monitoring. I'll do it with you. Go to meters, click on any of the meters. I'll click on the NextGen. And you're going to get more information. It's easy to use and highly accurate. SmartLight provides a simple understanding of your blood glucose levels. And of course, with second chance sampling technology, you can save money with fewer wasted test strips. As if all of that wasn't enough, the Contour NextGen also has a compatible app for an easy way to share and see your blood glucose results. ContourNext.com/juicebox. And if you scroll down at that link, you're going to see things like a buy now button. You could register your meter after you purchase it. Or what is this? Download a coupon. Oh, receive a free Contour NextGen blood glucose meter, do tell. ContourNext.com/juicebox. Head over there now. Get the same accurate and reliable meter that we use. This episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by the Eversense 365. Get 365 days of comfortable wear without having to change a sensor. When you think of a continuous glucose monitor, you think of a CGM that lasts 10 or 14 days. But the Eversense 365, it lives up to its name, lasting 365 days. That's 1 year without having to change your CGM. With the Eversense 365, you can count on comfort and consistency 365 days a year, because the Eversense silicone-based adhesive is designed for your skin to be gentle and to allow you to take the transmitter on and off to enjoy your shower, a trip to the pool, or an activity where you don't want your CGM on your body. If you're looking for comfort, accuracy, and a 1-year wear, you are looking for Eversense 365. Go to eversensecgm.com/juicebox to learn more.
It's not courses, it's really one-on-one direct patient care. And so, yes, we do have people all over the country who are on our team and able to connect with you virtually. They are licensed in the states that we're live in, and that's part of the reason why we're live in those specific states. All of our providers are licensed in the states that we're live in. They're giving you one-on-one attention. And sometimes, it can be 9 months until you can get in with your endo. We make that turnaround time a lot quicker. So if you were to go on and, be eligible to sign up for our program, let's say in Florida right now, on a business day, usually within 3 hours after signing up on the website, you get a call from our clinical enrollment specialist. And you start the process of getting in, and you may have your first appointment with our endocrinologist or an educator or an insurance navigator within a week easily. That's awesome. So it's really about giving people the care that they need and deserve immediately.
How long is, when I get set up with the endocrinologist, how long do I sit with them?
That appointment can be up to an hour.
And it's free?
It's totally free. I
don't understand. Hold on, Sarah.
I know. We get that a lot. What's the catch?
Stop it. What?
There's no
I feel like you're going to be and then you have to send us your kidney in ice because we sell them. Hold on a second. I understand Helmsley's behind it.
Yeah.
But it's all public information, right? But you don't make any money?
No, we don't. So we don't bill. We don't charge anything. We are fully funded by the Helmsley Charitable Trust. So it's incredible, generous work that they're doing, and that they're able to, fund us to make this happen. And we're able to dream big for people with type 1. And we're constantly working on making this program better for our patients. We're really big on feedback. We're really big on collecting all of the information we can to improve this, be as efficient as possible. But the goal here is to really keep patients as our North Star and do what's best for them. And that's how the entire program has been built and developed and maintained. And, the majority of our clinical staff, they live with type 1 diabetes. So these are people who get it. And there's a lot of people beyond the clinical staff who live with it too, like myself. I'm not a patient-facing member of the team, but I live with type 1. I work with Scott Johnson, who many people know from being in the T1D community for many years. He lives with type 1. And so the team is really mission driven, which has been the coolest environment I've ever worked in.
No kidding. So how many people work for Blue Circle?
I think we're close to 45 right now.
Get out of here.
Yeah, we got a pretty large growing staff.
What happens if we put this podcast up and 2,000 people call Blue Circle Health? They still going to sign up tomorrow and get going?
Yeah, so we have built out systems for wait lists and whatnot, just in case that happens. But we've actually found that hasn't been the case yet, because people need to hear from people who have gone through the program that there isn't a catch. Because we've been taught nothing is free in healthcare, Here we are saying, hey, we have this free program. And so having people meet us, we're going to events. I met you for the first time at the Touch by Type 1 conference. So we're showing up events to say, hey, we're actually real. But we've had to do a lot of myth busting to get the word out. So I would encourage anybody listening to, if you know an adult who lives with type 1, who's in one of the states I mentioned, Florida, Delaware, Maine, Vermont, Ohio, tell them about this program, tell them about this resource. I really believe that there's something for everybody who lives with type 1 that they could benefit from this program. And if there's not, I want to know it. We want the feedback, but I truly believe this is top-notch care.
Sarah, when I met you at Touch by Type 1, you started explaining this to me. I was like, this sounds like a scam.
That's the uphill battle we're facing. And, my job at Blue Circle Health is partner relations. So I spend my days talking to providers. I talk to patients directly. I talk to nonprofit organizations. And I love getting to do that because I get to myth bust every day and be like, no, this is actually real. It's out there. And it's an incredible resource for the T1D community. It's a blessing that we're able to do what we do every day. And I'm excited for it to be even bigger as we spread the word and, work with partners like you to spread the word. But this is a resource that belongs to the T1D community, and I'm excited to get it out there.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you this. So, like, somebody found Blue Circle 6 months ago, right? And they're like, hey, what's up? I'm an adult living with type 1. My A1C is like 11.5, and I struggle all the time, blah, blah, blah. Like, if I found that person today, are you tracking their outcomes? Like, are you seeing how it's going? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, someone who signed up 6 months ago.
Yeah, like, are they in a better place today?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're tracking that. We're tracking so many, many things. And, there's a lot of data scientists and engineers on our team who are doing great work on that. And because we've only had our program in its full form as it is now for under a year, really, out in the world, we are still getting some of that information back. So I think if you come back to me in 3 months, I'm going to have a lot more data to share with you. But our initial, feedback, our net promoter scores are wonderful. The feedback we're getting from our patients and providers is great. I just heard a story last week of a patient who we saw really early on. And, she said her A1C is the best that it's been in many, many years. And so we do hear those stories. We do have access to some patients, CGM data if they're on CGMs. And so there's a lot that we're tracking. We do a DDAS score. So we're looking at diabetes distress at entry and exit. We're learning as much as we can because we want, as I said, patients are a North Star. We want to deliver excellent patient care. That's our mission here. But our mission is also to show what this can look like in a much bigger scale throughout the country. And so we are taking those learnings so that hopefully this can have policy implications one day.
Awesome. It's really great. How long are you funded for? Like, do you have an amount of time where you have to make this work, or they're like, it's enough of you?
So they fund in 3-year cycles, but we're very confident that funding is going to be with us for a while. And with the funding that we have right now, we're able to care for thousands, which is amazing. I think there's going to be a point when we want to be in all 50 states and we want to be caring for tens of thousands of people. Then we'll have to look into, what does it look like to have additional funding sources here. But where we are right now, we're very comfortable.
I feel like I'm gonna say something, but I don't want to be controversial because
Okay.
I'm about to I love getting this story out about this, but I love this a little extra because I have like there's some things in the world that bother you.
Yeah.
So listen, I take ads, right? So I make a living making the podcast. So I don't want to come off like I'm just over here doing it. And like in the evenings after work, like it's a job. I make a living. Like, so I want to be clear about that. I've always been like, you talk about North Star. Like when I started doing this, the way I thought about it was that people shouldn't have to pay for good health. Like that didn't make sense to me. Right. So, where a lot of people might, make a podcast popular and then tell you a couple things and then say, hey, if you click on this link over here and pay me, I'll tell you the rest of it, like a coaching model or something like that. And by the way, this is going to sound like I'm talking in circles for a second, Sarah, but I have two actual minds of thought about this. I don't mind people making a living. If you want to go out there and do like health coaching, I say, God bless you. I hope it helps people. Right. But from my perspective, I don't like that it costs people money. And so like the one thing you won't hear on the podcast ever is a health coach. Like I don't allow health coaches in my private Facebook group. I don't let them on the podcast because I am not about you selling what in the end ends up being explaining to people how to like set their settings up and pre-bolus for their meals and how to bolus for fat. Like I don't think you should be selling that information to people. So I make it all very available, very free on the podcast for the people listening. I'm very proud of that. But I am also a little personally irritated when people make money with coaching. So not that I don't think it's necessary or okay. And Sarah's not going to badmouth anybody because she's here kind of in an official, like I'm not badmouthing anybody either. I don't like it personally. Like, I think like find another way to pay to get them this information. I found a way. I sell ads on a podcast, right? And you guys found a way. And I think that's really awesome. Like, I'm super excited that you're going to be helping people and not charging them money. I think that's wonderful. So thank you and anybody else who's involved in it, because I think it's really great. You don't have to respond even to all that stuff I just said. I'm not asking you to.
I think, look, healthcare in this country is an incredibly complicated thing. Our program's not available in every state, right? We want that to be the goal. And so we want this to spread. We want this, we have to work hand in hand with the existing healthcare system to do what we do. And we love doing that. Like, we act as an extension of somebody's care team. That is, a huge part of our mission. Part of our eligibility requirement is that our patients have a medical home or are willing for us to be, connect them to one, because we're a short-term program. We want people to have that in-person care. We also recognize that some people can't meet with a diabetes educator. I think I've only met with my diabetes educator once or twice since my diagnosis. Mm-hmm. And that's just because the healthcare system is complicated. So I'd say, like, for anyone who can go out there and seek external resources and afford it, like, that's amazing. That's an extra thing that, you Sure. can do. We also want to make this available for people who can't afford it. And we started by recruiting out of free clinics and federally qualified health centers and giving people who had predominantly only seen a primary care doctor to manage their type 1 diabetes some specialty care. Now we've opened the doors and say, hey, anyone who needs help with their T1D and is eligible, like, great, sign up. We do this program, in English and in Spanish. Right now, hopefully one day that's even more languages. But this is a resource that really belongs to the people with type 1. But for anyone who can access additional resources, like, I support, whatever you can build in your circle.
Oh, listen, for everybody that can afford it, like, it's cool. Like, if you want to go buy rent a health coach, I think that's awesome. Like, go do it. You know what I mean? Like, but for all the people who can't afford it. So for as long as I've been in this space, a backroom conversation has been about reaching more people. Like, it's nice to say, like, oh, I have a podcast, or I'm a coaching service, and people who go with me, they leave with like 5 A1Cs. It's awesome. But, like, you're reaching people who have that access. You're reaching people who have the time, who have the wherewithal, who have the money to pay. And what about everybody else? And I always hear people talking about what about everybody else, but then nobody does anything about it. And this is actually doing something about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's I'm just going to come out and tell you, Sarah, like, there is very likely no other entity, person, whatever in the diabetes space reaching as many people as I do. And I reach a small fraction of people with diabetes.
I think that's what we're finding too, is like the Facebook communities, like the one that you have built, that is where so much of the conversation is happening. And so that's where I'm hoping that we can take Blue Circle Health into these groups too, to make sure that people know, hey, like, if you're eligible. And a lot of times it's parents who are in those Facebook groups with kids with type 1, who of course will become, 18 and older and be eligible for our program. And we do a lot with that transition. You're going from peds to adult, you need a soft landing pad. It's a while till you can get into an adult endo, or you're navigating new challenges of college, early career. Like, we can help fill that gap. It's a huge area that we help. But a lot of times in these Facebook communities, it's not actually adults with type 1 who are there, but it's the powerhouse moms and dads and caregivers. So we're hoping to use that to spread the word about this resource and to be able to share. But it's also finding people who have said, like, I want this to be in the background. Like, I don't want, type 1 to be something that is my identity. Like, I'm the weirdo who's chosen to do that, right? Like, I talk about this with my team all the time. Like, we're the T1D weirdos who have made this our careers and made this our social circles. And that's not the average person. So for us at Blue Circle, like, a huge task is, like, how do we find the people who they may not want the T1D community to be their biggest thing, or they may not realize what that, that could fill in their life right now, but how do we find them and offer them an extra hand so that they don't feel like they have to carry the burden of this disease all by themselves?
Yeah. Everyone needs help, like children and adults, but adults, I think specifically because they don't have a parent with them. Like, maybe you're going to get lucky and get a decent parent who jumps on a train and goes from Baltimore to New York because you need help, right?
DC does not do it justice for what my parents have done for me and my siblings, and my whole friend group has really rallied around here.
No, it's amazing, but a lot of people don't have that, right? Sometimes people have parents and their parents just aren't like go-getters, you know what I mean? Or they don't understand diabetes or whatever. But at least they're still with their parents, and they go to their doctor's appointments and they get to see doctors, like, they have more touch points. But once you become an adult and you're by yourself, and if you didn't have good diabetes knowledge or practices as a child and you become an adult with diabetes, it is only going to go in one direction. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you need something that is a base. It's a firm foundation to say to you, like, look, Sarah, this entire podcast, if you listen to the management stuff, it's really very simple stuff. No one's saying anything crazy that nobody knows about except for me. You know what I mean? Like, it's about have your basal right. Bolus for your food properly. Don't look at a high blood sugar all day. Bring it back down. Try not to be scared of being low. Fix it. Get back. Don't get up on a roller coaster up and down. Like, I actually think that once you have those tools, diabetes is manageable, right? And I don't want to say easy. I don't mean easy, but it's easier when you understand the foundational stuff. And what I've come to learn over a decade is that most people don't get foundational information ever.
Well, and what you don't know, you don't know. So if you're taught one thing, like I still remember that, I was taught every time you go low, 15 grams of carbs. And so that's what I thought was the prescription there. And then I was going high every time I was doing that. And I was honeymooning at the time. And I just didn't know that, we were in control of adapting that and that I could be empowered to make my own choices about that. And that, I may not need a 15 grams of carb snack every time I was dropping a little bit low. And it may look different. And some days I only need 5 grams of carbs to correct a low. And sometimes I need 30 grams of carbs to correct a low, depending on so many factors of insulin on board and what activity I was doing and how fast it was dropping. And it's just impossible to put all that into a doctor's appointment once or twice a year.
Never going to happen. And I have found, speaking to countless adults over the years, that the ones who feel empowered to change their settings, right, to adjust their insulin, they're the ones that do better. And the ones who think, I have to wait until I talk to the doctor because he'll know better, she'll know better, I got to wait. And they wait 3 months. The doctor turns their basal from 0.65 to 0.7. Like, let's see what this does. Well, the answer is my A1C is 8. It's going to not do anything. And then we'll wait 3 more months and do it again. And then that gets frustrating. And the doctors forget. They don't listen. God bless doctors and all, but they don't remember you. The last thing they do before they walk in the door is open up your chart and go, okay. And then they run through the door. You remember them because they're your doctor, but they look at you like, oh, you're Pat. I remember Pat a little. They're not tracking your health the way you can. Right.
And we have so many tools to do that now too, that it's just about learning how to use them to our strength.
No, 100%. This is super exciting because I think you're going to learn a lot while you're doing this as well. Lessons that maybe leap over the patients and go back into healthcare again, because you're paying attention. You're in a few thousand people. It's a nice focused experience where you're going to really be able to see lessons, see what repeats, start saying, when we do it like this works more frequently, and then that's good advice to hand out to doctors. So I can see a world where one day doctors can come to Blue Circle to ask questions about what are the foundational steps? What do I do to put these people in a good position? Because I don't think they know either. This is really cool. This has a lot of upside potential. You must be excited to be involved with it.
Absolutely. I mean, it feels like the great honor of my life. And I don't say that lightly, to be involved with this organization and this group of people that's making it happen. There's just so much heart. I go to work every day with a smile on my face, getting to do what I do every day and with this group of people. And most of them I've only met in person once, and actually it was my second diaversary this year at our team retreat. And so I was still fairly new on the team. And I just was reflecting that day being like, wow, I couldn't imagine being in a cooler spot right now in my T1D journey than at this in-person team retreat on my second diaversary, and able to think about, where I came from day one, because it has not been, smooth sailing from the start. There was a period of time where I was eating the same thing every day for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and that's what felt comfortable. And I had to learn how to gain confidence with my T1D management. And now that I can work in this space and be putting this out there for other people with T1D, it's an honor.
Awesome. That's really something. Okay, let's go over it. Where somebody's listening to this, they're like, I'm going to try that. Where do they go?
Yeah, so bluecirclehealth.org. You can sign up from our website. There's a button there to sign up yourself. If you're a provider listening to this, there's a button that you can refer patients to, sign up on the form. There's also a phone number that's listed on our website that you can call to if filling out the web form. You're like, I want to talk to someone. I want a little more before I do this. You can do that. You can reach out to our team. team@bluecirclehealth.org via email. If you're like, hey, I'd rather, set up a time and figure something out to talk and learn more about this. But we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn. I'm trying to tell our story and share what we're doing. And so if you want to go explore, check it out. If you're like, I don't live in one of the states that you mentioned yet, Sarah, but hopefully you're coming to mine soon, give us a follow. You'll be the first person to know when we go live. And I'm always happy to connect with people and share more. So you can reach out to me. My email would be connect@bluecirclehealth.org. And I would be more than happy to get on a phone with you, a Zoom call, and chat more about what we do. We're also showing up more at events like I saw you at Touched by Type 1 and conferences. I actually was in Columbus, Ohio on Saturday for Ohio Health Diabetes Day. So we're getting out there. My team will be in Chicago for a conference this week. So you'll start seeing us hopefully around more. But until then, sign up on the website, give it a try. And I really hope that we can help you. And we feel honored to be part of your 2ND journey.
Geez, this is great. Oh, I'm so excited about this.
Oh, thank you so much.
Seriously. Actually, can I ask a personal question for a second?
Absolutely.
So you said you made your dog into a diabetes alert dog. You just come home and go, hey, listen, Rover, I got diabetes now. You got to get involved? Or like, how did that happen?
Basically, but his name is Louis, not Robert. Now,
okay.
When I was hospitalized, one of the, obviously I was not feeling my finest as I was getting, reacclimated and my blood sugar brought down. But one of the hardest part was that I lost my vision. It was extremely blurry for about 3 weeks, but the worst was the, 5 days I was in the hospital. The sugar was coming in and out of my lenses. So I couldn't even use my phone or read a text at the time. My dog, Louis, was about 1.5 years at the time. So there again, mom, superhero mom was, by my side. And I said, Mom, my dream would be for Louis to be a service dog. Like, can you look up, can your adult dog become a service dog? So that's what I had my mom Googling from the side of my hospital bed. I had wanted him to be a therapy dog. I said I was, working in schools as a social worker. And so I'd seen dogs that went and, helped kids get confident with reading. And so he had great basic obedience foundation, but he had no, he was a silly dog and had fun. And he's, 50-pound doodle mix. I wasn't sure what would happen there. We found Medidogs Training. They're based out of Wisconsin. Annie, the head trainer, is absolutely amazing. And she has a program where, she does board and trains and will fully train dogs. But she also has, the ability to do an adult dog owner training program. And so we Zoomed twice a week for almost 2 years before Louis was fully, a service dog and passed his test for public access. But he was alerting me within about 6 months. So he learned how to do my high and low blood sugar alerts, and he will go on runs with me and alert me. He's sitting by my side right now, sleeping on the couch. But if my blood sugar dropped or rose, he would get off and come wake up and alert me. Same with overnight. He can smell it in his sleep, which to me is still the craziest thing, to wake up, to then wake me up. And he's usually 20 to 40 minutes ahead of my CGM. So I always say, the technology is a huge tool, but it lags. It's not always correct. I trust Louis 1,000 times over, and he sometimes will alert me at 1:30 and say it's low. And I'm like, really? Are you sure? And without fail, the blood sugar is dropping within 20 to 40 minutes if he's given me that alert. So he's pretty amazing. And there's actually I've worked with Annie to start a diabetic alert dog scholarship program there to make it something that's more accessible to other people too, because it's expensive owning a dog. It's expensive training a service dog. And it's something that has been a silver lining of my diagnosis for sure, getting to go through life with Louis and train him and have this extra tool and silver lining. So we're hoping to make that available for more people too.
Oh, what are you trying to be, a saint? What's going on here, sir?
Huh? I told you, I've had a lot of people looking out for me since my diagnosis, and an amazing support system. And I've been able to take advantage of a lot of resources. So anything I can do to give back to this community, I want to be a part of.
That's lovely. I feel the same way, actually. That's wonderful. Am I missing anything?
No, I would just say that with Blue Circle Health, to me, that's why we started this conversation. I'm so excited to be here spreading the word about that. And so if you know somebody, if you can share something on Facebook, Instagram, anywhere you're at in Facebook groups, know somebody who could use a hand with their T1D, please let them know about this resource. It's really free. It's really here to help adults living with type 1 diabetes. Florida, Maine, Vermont, Delaware, Ohio, more states coming soon. Please check out our website and sign up if we can help you out.
Awesome. Okay, great. I appreciate you coming on and doing this. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, of course. It's my pleasure. Your kids mean everything to you, and you'd do anything for them, especially if they're at risk. So when it comes to type 1 diabetes, screen it like you mean it. Because if even just one person in your family has type 1, your child is up to 15 times more likely to get it. But just one blood test can help you spot it early. So don't wait. Talk to your doctor about screening. Tap now or visit screenfortype1.com to get more info and screen it like you mean it. The podcast episode that you just enjoyed was sponsored by Eversense CGM. They make the Eversense 365. That thing lasts a whole year. One insertion every year? Come on. You probably feel like I'm messing with you, but I'm not. EversenseCGM.com/juicebox. Arden started using a contour meter because of its accuracy, but she continues to use it because it's durable and trustworthy. If you have diabetes, you want the Contour NextGen blood glucose meter. There's already so many decisions. Let me take this one off your plate. ContourNext.com/juicebox. If you or a loved one was just diagnosed with type 1 diabetes and you're looking for some fresh perspective, the Bold Beginnings series from the Juicebox Podcast is a terrific place to start. That series is with myself and Jenny Smith. Jenny is a CDCES, a registered dietitian, and a type 1 for over 35 years. And in the Bold Beginnings series, Jenny and I are going to answer the questions that most people have after a type 1 diabetes diagnosis. The series begins at episode 698 in your podcast player, or you can go to juiceboxpodcast.com and click on Bold Beginnings in the menu. Learn more about what you heard today at bluecirclehealth.org. I can't thank you enough for listening. Please make sure you're subscribed or following in your audio app. I'll be back tomorrow with another episode of the Juicebox Podcast. The episode you just heard was professionally edited by Wrong Way Recording. WrongWayRecording.com.